Selkirk.
DJ Selkirk on the Carvana PPA Tour. The best pickleball in the world. DJ Selkirk on the beat.
Chris Carson, the man. If you are introduced to someone, right? Someone comes up to you, they ask you what you do for a living. How would you describe yourself and kind of what you do?
Well, first of all, I've got the best job in the world, right? I work for Pickleball and I'm DJ Selkirk, right? So, you know, when I meet people, they say, you know, and they'll ask, you know, what do you do for work? I say, I work for the Professional Pickleball Association. And the first reaction for everyone's, really? Are you being serious? Is that a real thing? And that's usually followed up with either, oh, that is so cool, or, oh, pickleball. I played that when I was in junior high once.
Yeah.
And, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, I literally have the best job in the world.
So now you're DJ Selkirk officially.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool to be kind of a part of the team now.
Oh, man.
To have you on board. So.
I can't even tell you. You know, this is a dream. I would have never imagined. I remember I was at another tournament and I sketched out on a piece of paper this idea of like, hey, why don't you just call me DJ Selkirk? And I sent it to the PPA. I was like, can we sell this as a sponsorship? That'd be cool if I were DJ Selkirk. And then it was passed on to Selkirk from Connor Pardo. And they were like, haha, this is funny. Check this out. Chris wants to be DJ Selkirk. And then I remember Rob and Mike writing back and saying, we want this to happen. And you know, I laughed. I didn't think it really would. And then, you know, I've kind of called myself DJ Selkirk since then. And then when I was approached from Selkirk and we're like, we want to make this happen, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't be happier, more thrilled. You know, Selkirk is by far the best brand out there. Leading the way, sort of pioneering the pickleball paddles, and it's just been an incredible thing to follow. Being a marketing guy, I love what Selkirk has done, marketing and building a brand. All the paddles, other paddle brands are trying to catch up. You know, they're like, what? Selkirk is selling their paddle for $200? We're gonna do that too. And oh, you know, $250, everyone's moving to $250. It's just been phenomenal what Selkirk's done. And like I said, Coop, man, I've been a Selkirk fan since 2021, since I started playing pickleball. And I spent a lot of money on paddles, apparel, and whatnot. Just love Selkirk. And I remember when Tyson McGuffin started using that really cool paddle with the throat, the open throat. I thought, that thing's rad. I want one of those, right? And I was already working for the PPA at that time, and I'm thinking, you know, what is this? I'm trying to figure out what it is, and Tyson's like, oh yeah, no, it's coming out, we're gonna release it, whatever. And then February 22nd, 2022, whatever, you know, it came out. And there was all the hype, and I'm like, I'm gonna be the first one to buy it. We were in North Carolina at the time, and Minnesota, we were in Minnesota. And I remember telling everyone, I'm like, okay, at 2:22 p.m., I need to be unavailable for a while because I'm gonna buy myself this paddle. Yeah, so I kind of go find a spot. We were setting up, so I mean, I wasn't doing my DJ thing, we were just setting up. So I go find a little corner, and then I go to buy it because I didn't want them to sell out. As soon as it hit, I'm like, refresh, and then it comes up, it's like Selkirk Labs, buy your paddle, and I go in and it's like, apply. And I said, what? Apply? I'm like, oh, apply. So I applied to Selkirk Labs, and I wait, and I wait, and I wait. The day goes by. The next day goes by. A week goes by. And then weeks go by. Like, I'm dying. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Did I say something wrong? Do they not like, I'm like, what is it? And then I go to my local pickleball club one day when I was at home, and I got this buddy, awesome buddy, Alex, and he pulls out a 002. And I'm like, oh no. It's like, I wanted one so bad. And he's like, oh yeah, it's cool. So I played with it for a second, and then this guy I'm playing with is like, oh yeah, I bought one. And I was like, dude, I applied and they didn't even accept me. And he's like, no, they accepted me in like 5 minutes. So I was both crushed and furious, you know? And I go home and I pull out every Selkirk paddle I still owned, because I'd already like sold one and, you know, gave one to a friend. You know, I was a Selkirk peddler at that time, you know, recommending Selkirk to everybody. I pull out everything I had, laid it out on my bed, all my apparel, all my hats, you know, all my accessories, and I take pictures of it. And there was the other thing too is Tyson McGuffin won that tournament in Minnesota. He won singles, the gold, and he took 2 of his Project 2 paddles and threw them to the crowd right in front of me. And I'm like, oh, like I wanted one of those. Anyway, so I had pictures of that. I had pictures of my buddy's paddle. I had pictures of all my apparel, and I make this post. And I tag Selkirk, and I tag the Barnes, you know, the owners of Selkirk, and I'm like, guys, I've spent thousands of dollars on Selkirk. I love Selkirk. I recommend it to everybody. I'm like, I'm your biggest fan. There's clearly nobody more raving fan than me. I'm like, please, Selkirk. And I tag a bunch of my pickleball buddies. I'm like, please tell Selkirk this is true. I am Selkirk. And I'm like, please just accept me so I can buy a paddle. And within minutes of my post, you know, friends are like writing me and like tagging me and begging Selkirk to please, you know, please accept him, it's true, whatever. And then like 15 minutes later, I get this message, personal DM on Facebook from Rob Barnes. And he's like, dude, I don't know what happened. It was a glitch in our system. Of course, we're gonna apply, you know, we're gonna accept you. And he's like, in fact, we're gonna send you a Project 2 on us, you know? And I'm like, it was literally a dream come true. I go to my wife and I'm like, they're sending it to me for free.
Best in the world.
Yeah, it was incredible. It's incredible. I mean, by the time I joined the PPA, there were already talks about, you know, partnership with Tom Dundon, the billionaire, and, you know, owner of the Charlotte Hurricanes and NHL team, and Top Golf, all that stuff. And so there was already this like excitement happening, you know. And of course, you know, everything in pickleball is, you know, it changes one day to the next. It's something new and exciting in professional pickleball. But I remember, yeah, when I started, there were like 8 full-time employees. And we would go to these tournaments and, you know, we'd set up, hang these massive banners and tape courts. And I mean, it's a production. But as we've gone on and on, it just seems like we hire new people. And we think, you know, it's gonna lessen our load. But then we're like, how about we add, you know, big old bleachers? Let's build bleachers, or, you know, and these stadiums wherever we go. And then we're like, hey, let's buy these LED screens and let's learn how to do these LED screens. Funny story is, you know, I've been doing DJ for a while, and then in September, I get a call from Connor, and he says, hey Chris, I need you on this phone call right now. Here, dial in. I'm like, all right. So I dial in, and it's this team that's setting up these TVs for us. And they're like, okay, yeah, Chris is gonna be running the LED screens and designing stuff for the LED screens. And I'm like, yeah. And then, so I'm like trying to fake it and just pretend like I know what's going on. Afterward, I'm like, what's happening? And so they let me know, you know, here's the dimensions, let's start making stuff for these LED screens. And man, it has changed dramatically. And then of course, just in the last couple of weeks, with our partnership with the MLP, all these great new players signing with the PPA, coming down here, we're in Vegas, you know, doing this incredible bubbly event with celebrities, tennis pros. It's just really catching on. It's really fun to see this sport grow and to be a part of that. I mean, we had Marcus Allen from the Raiders here today. It was just mind-blowing.
How did you get into pickleball? How did it all start for you?
It's kind of funny. You know, my little brother, Eric, he lived at St. George for a long time, Utah, St. George, Utah. And so he had been around pickleball a little bit. There were courts near his home, and I think once I was down there in St. George and he was like, hey, we should go play pickleball. And we kind of went out and played it a little, and it was great. I mean, you know, nothing special at the time. I can't remember, but thing is, eventually my little brother moved up near me, and at the time I was like 50 pounds heavier than I am today. And I was lamenting to my little brother. I said, you know, hey, I'm dying. I can't walk up a flight of stairs without getting winded. I have asthma, I have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, super overweight. I tried everything. I tried CrossFit, I tried running, I tried, you know, just going to the gym, and I even tried Zumba with my wife. But it was, you know, I hated running, I hated going to the gym, and I just couldn't stick to anything. I just love to eat. I really do. I like good food. And I was telling my brother all this, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm just gonna be fat. I'm just gonna be overweight. I'm gonna die, you know? And literally, my wife would tell me at times, she was like, I'm really worried about you. And I remember going to the doctor, and they're like, holy cow, we need to put you on asthma medication. We need to put you on high blood pressure medication, and all kinds of things. It was really depressing. I mean, very depressing. And I didn't see any way of changing. Then my brother, he's listened to it. He's like, well, me and my son, Ethan, we're just gonna start playing pickleball a couple times a week, and maybe hit the batting cages and hit some baseballs, maybe go golfing. He's like, you should join us. So I remember clearly on June 21st, 2001, I go out to, you know, about 20 minutes out to my brother's house. We hit these local courts. He hands me this paddle, it's broken in the handle, and we play for like 2 hours. Me, him, his son, and I was like, this is a lot of fun. I had a good time. And then I was like, but whatever, that was nothing. Then I looked at my Apple Watch, and I was like, I burned almost 1,000 calories. It's like, how is this possible? And then I was like, I can do this. We started playing pickleball every single morning. Next day I went and bought my first paddle. I looked up online, you know, what's the best paddle? How do you choose a paddle? There were a million paddles. I didn't know what wooden paddles and composite paddles, and, you know, I didn't know what to do. But I bought one. Then I went to another store, found a different one, and I'm like, I don't want to buy the most expensive paddle, but I also don't want to buy like the worst paddle. I'm going to buy the $80 paddle, which is sort of middle of the range. And I played with that paddle for every day for like a year. And I remember, I live in Utah, so this was during the summer, June 21st I started. I start playing every single day, burning 1,000 calories a day. And I just living my life normally after that. And the weight started to just melt off of me. I lost over like 50 pounds just playing pickleball. My blood pressure went down. My cholesterol went down. I don't have asthma anymore. And now like I can go forever without getting winded. And I mean, it literally, I think pickleball literally saved my life. But not only like physically, but socially, mentally. I used to tell people, they'd ask, you know, hey, what are your hobbies? And I'm like, eating, watching movies with my wife. You know, like I had no hobbies. I was like, I work, I eat, I sleep. I'm a boring guy, you know? Of course, I had a few other things I did as sort of like, that made money. I took pictures of, you know, and videos and stuff like that, but like, for me, it was, I had no hobbies. And really, my wife had her friend group, her girlfriends, and they'd go out on these old girl dates all the time, and I'd always give her like, well, okay, go have fun. I'll just, you know, we'll hunker down with the kids. We'll be fine without you, you know? And she would always, every time I'd give her some grief, she would come back and she'd be like, you know, you should go out with your guy friends. And I'm like, who? My work buddies? I spend all day with them. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna. Anyway, I didn't have any friends, no social life, no hobbies. And then all of a sudden I'm playing pickleball every single day, and I meet literally hundreds of people who now I consider to be my friends, like true friends. And so, and I have a hobby, something that suddenly became part of my identity. People are like, what do you do for fun? I'm like, I play pickleball. And then my church group and my work groups and everybody started identifying this guy, this is the pickleball guy, right? I remember for my birthday, a month after I bought my first paddle, it was in July, my birthday's in July, and so I'm like, for my birthday, I want a new pickleball paddle. And so I go to a different store and I'm like, now I'm buying the most expensive paddle there is. I don't care what it is, if it's the most expensive, I'm gonna buy it. And I look around and I find a Selkirk paddle and I'm like, that's the one. Didn't really know much about pickleball brands yet, it's a month in, but I get it and I start playing with it and it changed my world as well. I'm like, Selkirk! Since then I probably bought 20 different Selkirk paddles, spent thousands of dollars. My wife's been like furious with me. It's like our life savings. But I'm like, I love this brand. But yeah, no, it changed my life. I got friends, and now of course, it's all I do, right? This is my full-time job, and I get to hang out with all the Selkirk people, all of the professional pickleball players. I love every one of them, they're awesome. Yeah, I mean, so what happened is, I'm playing in the summer, and it gets to about August in Utah, and it starts to get a little cold outside. And I start thinking about the winter. I'm like, I'm playing pickleball every day, but it snows in Utah. I'm like, where am I gonna play pickleball when it snows outside? So then I get this whole idea that I'm gonna open up an indoor pickleball court. And so I start going after that. Night and day, I'm thinking about what are the financials and what would it take to open an indoor pickleball court or courts in Utah. So I started to meet a whole bunch of really cool people. Also, I knew that the founders of the PPA, Connor Pardo and that lot, they were from Utah. And so I'm like, it'd be cool if I did something with the PPA. So I start reaching out to them, but they're incredibly busy. I mean, incredibly busy. Still to this day, they're incredibly busy. So impossible to get hold of. So I'm like, if I really want to do something and meet these guys and sort of like just add them to my network, I've got to go to them. So I look at the calendar, I'm like, all right, there's a PPA event in Las Vegas. That's close enough to home. So I reach out to one of their guys. I was like, hey, I want to volunteer down in Vegas. This was their director of marketing, Bryce. And Bryce was like, yeah, cool, that'd be great. We could put you to work, that's awesome. He's like, but if you really want to come to see a cool tournament, you ought to go to Texas. And I was like, all right. So I sign up for the Texas, I don't sign up, I just buy a ticket, a plane ticket, and I fly down to Dallas, Texas, and I show up 11 o'clock at night, Wednesday night in Dallas. And I literally spent the entire tournament like mopping courts and taping courts and carrying sandbags, shagging balls. And it was phenomenal, and I got to talk and meet with, I got to meet Connor, I got to meet Bryce and all those guys. And then come Sunday, the guy who was playing the music on Championship Court for him, he was like, hey, I'm playing in the tournament Sunday. Nobody, can we do without music on Championship Court on Championship Sunday? And everyone's like, maybe Chris could do it. I'm like, sure. So I hook up my iPhone to their PA system and I'm playing some music and I'm front and center. I'm watching the championship matches. I didn't know that it was, best 3 out of 5 on Championship Sunday. So like, I think it was like Callie Smith and Lucy Kovalova, one game, 2, 3, whatever. And I'm like, winners, gold medal. And they're like, no, best out of 3 out of 5. So embarrassed, but I loved it. Then I went and I volunteered in Vegas. And again, did the whole thing.
How did it transform from volunteering to eventually becoming?
Yeah, so then I after Vegas, same sort of thing, but I was the DJ most of the time. I say DJ, I was playing music on my iPhone and throwing some stuff out to the crowd. I got to speak at length with Connor and I said, hey man, I'd love to work for the PPA if there's anything we could do. And he's like, well, you've sure proved yourself. So, you'd be a great team member. Let's talk again in December. So then in December, I have a long background in marketing, 20 plus years of email marketing, brand experience, all kind of marketing. And so I made a proposal for him because I hadn't heard from him. I'd reached out, but still very, very busy. But I made a proposal. I said, hey, I'd like to do some of your marketing for you. And here's what I would charge, and I'll go to your tournaments and, let's do that. So they hired me as a contractor in December. I was doing some marketing for them. And then in January, They loved all the marketing that I had done up those, during that month. And January they hired me full time, and I went to Desert Ridge, and I went and bought a few, little DJ tools. Really, I don't have a background in being a DJ. I always wanted to be a DJ as a kid, but I went and I bought a little mixer tool just so that I could cue up songs at certain points and, listen to the one but coming up next. And anyway, changed my world. I loved it. Yeah, no, we're still talking about it. We're working on a logo for DJ Selkirk. Selkirk has the best designers in the world, and I got mock-ups of some logos for DJ Selkirk, and they're incredible. These lockups are amazing. And I'm super excited to, it's gonna be hard to get down to one and see what that looks like, but you can expect to see an incredible DJ facade that's branded DJ Selkirk, some backdrops, some shade, and there's gonna be some gear as far as I can tell as well. I wear these, incredible hats, bright colors, and you can expect to see some DJ Selkirk apparel, and who knows, maybe we start selling that too, man. It would be cool, crazy. Oh man, why do I love pickleball? It's now a part of my identity, Cooper. Pickleball has changed my life. It's saved my life. It's fun. It's social. It's inclusive. Before joining the PPA, I was running pickleball clinics and pickleball round robins for state legislatures. We had Democrats, we had Republicans all coming together and having a great time. And I've played with 95-year-old individuals, I've played with 10-year-olds, and I've played with 350-pound people and 80-pound people. And age, size, color of your skin, your political beliefs, it doesn't matter. Pickleball is so inclusive, and it changes everything. Man, my family is the most important thing in my life. I've got my incredible wife. She's from Brazil. We met when we were in college, and I had spent some time in Brazil, and so I spoke Portuguese. We met down in college, and then after we got married, lived in Brazil. But we have 4 kids together. We've got my daughter Jasmine. She's 15 years old right now. My son Eric, who is 14. Samuel is 11. And little Henry is turning 7 in March. They're everything to me. They're my world. And, with the PPA, I'm traveling a ton, so I don't get to see them near as much. But I have found that, I cherish those minutes more than ever than I'm with them. And so I get home from a tournament, and I always try and bring a little something for the kids, and we sit down and we just enjoy whatever time we have together. A week, 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever it is. It's just really, really special time. They're incredible. I love my wife to death. We've been married 17 years. She's the best. She puts up with me. She puts up with, me leaving all the time. She's got the 4 kids to kind of handle and work together with, But she's awesome. My goal for everyone who comes to a PPA event is to say, holy cow, that's the funnest I've ever had with pickleball. And that's hard, because pickleball is so incredibly fun. I want to make it better, right? I want people to come and I want them to feel it deep inside themselves, how energized it is, how exciting it is. I want them to go away saying, wow, that tournament was the funnest sporting event I've ever been to. And that's not easy to do, I feed off the crowd though, man. If I can get them going and they reciprocate that energy, it builds on itself. And then all of a sudden the crowd's going crazy, I'm going crazy, we're having a blast, the players love it. I think one of the first tournaments I had one of the pro players make a comment, which was then shared to me that, I changed PPA events. That meant a lot to me. I was like, wow, to have an impact on the sport that I love so much, that had such an impact on me. And so I go with sort of that expectation of like, I have to do that. I have to make it better every time. And I think I'm getting better, and I think it's getting better every time. Sometimes we take some steps backwards, but and it's a delicate game too. I start Thursday, and I can't use 100% on Thursdays, because by Sunday I'm gonna be destroyed. Yeah, so I gotta pace myself. Thursdays, I take it a little bit easy. I wanna get the crowd excited, but like I also wanna make sure that come Sunday, I can go 150% and like make Championship Sunday just electric.